Hey YouTube, I'm going to try something new with this video because I can do this now. Pretty cool, huh? Wait, can we breathe in space? Nope.
That's me!
Today's movie was requested by a friend at work named Tara. It's a movie that I was aware of, but I never had any interest in seeing because it always seemed like it was a cheap ripoff of Twilight. And you know what's the only thing that could be worse than Twilight? A cheap ripoff of Twilight. But she assured me that it wasn't that bad, and that I should at least give it a shot because if nothing else I'd have lots of jokes to make about it. And that's why I decided to review The Mortal Instruments, City of Bones. A teenage girl named Clary Frey lives in a New York City apartment with her mother Jocelyn and her mother's friend Luke. Recently, Clary's been drawing strange symbols all over the place, but she doesn't know what they mean. She takes her friend Simon to investigate one of these symbols and believes that she witnesses a murder that only she can see. Later, she encounters that murderer and finds his name is Jace Wayland. He tells Clary that he's something called a shadow hunter, which is a half-angel, half-human hunter of all things evil, and that she can see him because she also has the blood of a shadow hunter. She goes to question her mom about this, only to find that her mom's been abducted by the Blob from X-Men Origins and replaced by a Rottweiler that can turn into a demon monster. And then Jace comes in and kills it. After a conversation with a witch that lives downstairs, Clary finds that this whole situation is about a cup that does something that I never quite figured out. I found that the understanding I had about this movie was pretty much correct. It wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it definitely reeked of having taken a little bit too much from other movies of varying quality. The story definitely reminded me of Twilight, as I imagine any teen supernatural or romantic novel turned into a movie will. But it wasn't nearly as painful to watch as some of those earlier Twilights were. The writing was a little hit and miss, but there was a couple of surprises in the story and the action wasn't half bad. Like I found that some of the things people said in the movie were spectacularly stupid, but a couple of them were actually kind of funny. I took issue with the fact that Clary at one point says,
"I don't remember anything she'd want me to forget."
I was really hoping that the pause that she takes after that statement was her realizing how stupid it sounds. But then later she says, "But I don't know what I know because my mother made me forget what I can't remember." But there is potential that I'm wrong about the bad writing in this movie. They could have actually meant for Clary to have a learning disability. It would have been really progressive with the story. They did have a couple of good lines in the movie, but they were all delivered by other people. Like when her friend Simon makes the joke about him being the gatekeeper and asking if Jace is the keymaster. And then later when that douchey Alec guy makes a joke about Clary looking like someone whose number should be on a bathroom wall because she's dressed like a hooker. I thought the basic story of the movie needed some work as well. For one thing, I thought parts of the movie were vaguely sexist even though this movie was written by a woman. The only real instance of this is the fact that all the women in the story were completely useless in a fight unless you handed them some bakeware. Like when the Blob shows up at her front door to abduct her, Jocelyn is completely useless with a knife. But you put a frying pan or a refrigerator door in her hand and she will fuck you up. The same thing happens to Clary later, but she's more powerful than her mom, so she knows how to kill a demon with a stove. Now is that all I'm basing my flimsy premise of sexism on? Yes, but I'm okay with it. As I said before, this movie also felt like it was stealing from a lot of other movies. Like the institute where the Shadowhunters call home looks an awful lot like inner city Hogwarts. And the hospital place they used a lot in the movie looked almost identical to the one in Hogwarts. And then you have the main character get all freaky with the love interest only to have the villain reveal that he's both of their fathers. Sound familiar?
I am your father.
The old dude in this movie even looks like Obi-Wan. And how does the villain reveal that he's Jace's father? By showing him that the W on his ring that he always thought stood for Wayland was actually an M that stood for Morgenstern. How could I not have realized that a W was an M upside down? Why did I never check my fingernails like a straight man? It's good to be a Wayland. Oh no, I'm a Morgenstern. They also talk a lot in this movie about an angel named Raziel, and that is stolen straight out of Legacy of Kain. Got you. You thought I wouldn't remember because those games weren't that good. And one of the big problems I have with the story is even the stuff they actually did come up with just made things a little bit too easy. Namely the use of their magical runes that they burned to their skin with a red crystal. Are you trapped in a room by monsters? Stop monster room, go! Did your house get fucked up by the Blob? Well, try our new Clean My House rune. Available this fall wherever runes are sold. So obviously one of the big problems I have with this movie was with the main character Clary. But how did Lily Collins do? She did fine, and she was fine. But her character mostly just made me angry. First of all, what do you mean that girl at the beginning was flirting with Simon? She looked at him and smiled. I can't really fault him for not noticing that. And how are you going to get mad at Simon for not answering the phone when your mom called him? I realize that it's a problem for you because your mom got abducted from it, but did you realize that the first 5 names you read before you got to his were yours?
Larry, Simon? She called you?
I know that I wasn't answering her calls too, but I was busy talking to a sickly boy that I find attractive at the time. And later on you're going to be surprised that this dude is into you? You're a teenager. How have you not seen every shitty high school chick flick? The nerdy guy hanging out with the hot chick that will actually talk to him has but one thing on his mind, I assure you. Later on, why do you throw a knife at a werewolf that just saved your life?
Chase, I need a knife!
Paying no mind to the fact that it turned out to be your mom's friend, it just saved your life. You're welcome. And lastly, why would you give the cup to Hodge for safekeeping? I understand that you trusted him at the time, but it was stuck in a car that only 2 people could get into and one was in a coma. There's no safer keeping. Is that all I had to say about the characters in this movie? Just a bunch more jokes about the main character? Yep, moving on. So that's all I have to say about the Mortal Instruments City of Bones. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my videos, and if there's anything you'd like me to review, don't forget to leave it in the comments below or on my Facebook fan page. And I'll see you next time. So for now, my name is Robert, and the Mortal Instruments City of Bones has just been reviewed.